that 80% of our immune system begins in our gut? Now that might be something difficult to swallow. Joining us today to discuss gut health is registered holistic nutritionist Rita Mustafa. Welcome back.
Hi, Julia.
So this is something, gut health, we've been hearing about it. We were talking earlier before the show. I've heard a lot about it. I feel like I know a lot, but you still don't know enough because this is something that is now a thing.
It's a thing. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of not only digestive issues, but just health issues in general.
Right.
Right.
And so we'll talk later, but the symptoms may not correlate. So just because you have a stomach ache, it may not be what you ate, or maybe you have something else, a headache, and it could be correlated to what you ate as opposed to how you slept or something else, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's my story actually. I grew up, in grade school, I started getting headaches, and of course, I didn't know alternative stuff at the time. So went into high school, and headaches kept getting worse, and now they were migraines. So all through high school, I had migraines, and then in my 20s, I still didn't deal with it because I didn't know you had to. It was just a migraine.
You just had to live with it.
Of course,
right?
You just take some medication and you're good to go, right? And then, but it was a chronic thing. Then in my 20s, still wasn't listening to those signs and symptoms my body was trying to tell me, and then I developed like chronic headaches and sinus pressure, sinus congestion. Didn't listen to those signs or symptoms, and then started to develop ear infections. So until I stopped and said, well, okay, well, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. And so all those signs and symptoms had nothing to do with my digestion. Like I wasn't complaining of a stomach ache. I was always complaining about my headaches or my sinuses or my ear infection. And then, at the time when I worked with somebody, it ended up, my sensitivities were to things like dairy and wheat, mm-hmm. my two main contributors. So once I got rid of that, all those problems went away. But so yeah, you're right. It doesn't always show up as a digestive issue.
Right. Why are some people more prone to these intolerances than others? Or is that a correlation as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, a majority of our immune system's in our gut. And depending on what we've done to our gut to affect our immune system really will affect what will happen to us in terms of signs and symptoms. So the use of antibiotics, it's very common, right? How many times since your childhood even have you taken antibiotics for one thing or another? Right? So just one round of antibiotics is enough to disrupt the good bacteria that's in our gut, and that's enough to start an immune sort of imbalance right there, right? So I think that's what's happening is it's overuse of things like antibiotics, probably other medications, maybe too much sugars, maybe GMO'd foods, who knows?
Okay, and so you can develop these intolerances and these sensitivities at any time. Just because you were fine as a kid doesn't mean you'll be okay as an adult.
Exactly. So that's what's happening. Many adults are coming in with these signs and symptoms that they're tired of dealing with now because they've dealt with them for so long. And the scary thing is I'm also seeing like younger and younger kids, right? And I'm getting like 10 and 8 and 10 and 12-year-olds, and they're already coming in on medications for acid reflux and things like that, which is
you don't want to be taking that your whole life.
No, you can't be taking that your whole life. There's a lot of side effects. It affects your bone structure. It's just not good.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the top 3 sensitivities or intolerances.
Yeah.
We've heard about them. I mean, it's kind of everywhere in the supermarket now even.
Exactly. So the top 3 are wheat. Sometimes it's gluten, but most of the time it's just wheat.
Okay.
Dairy and eggs.
So let's go to gluten, wheat. So what's the difference between gluten and wheat?
So gluten is just the name of a protein, and that protein, gluten, can be found in wheat, but it can also be found in like rye and barley and spelt and kamut. So if someone is really sensitive to gluten, then those foods they have to avoid. If someone is just sensitive to wheat, as an example, then they don't get rid of wheat, but they can still eat spelt, or they can still eat kamut or rye.
Right, so gluten-free does not mean wheat-free does not mean gluten-free.
That you have to be gluten-free.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So it just depends on the person.
Okay. And so wheat, gluten, dairy, and eggs.
Yeah. Which is why my cookbook is that, because it's amazing to me. I've been doing this almost 15 years, and it's like over the years, it's just started out with a few main food sensitivities that people started developing, and then the past probably 5 years, like eggs is the new one, almonds is going to be the next one. Yeah, it's, yeah, so why?
What do you do?
Yeah.
So first, before you do, what do you do? How do you know that you have these sensitivities or these intolerances?
So some people will just do an elimination diet, meaning they just take that food out. The easier way is to just do the blood test. There's I'll show you a kit later, but it's basically a blood test. You go to a lab, get the blood drawn, and then it'll get tested, and then I'll get a report back, and it'll show me just how big of a reaction you're having to certain foods. And the foods itself aren't the culprit, like they're not the bad guys.
Right.
It's the intestinal health that is causing us to be sensitive, right? So if we have good digestive health, good intestinal health, good flora, it's not, your immune system is nice and strong, we're less likely to have food sensitivities. Once our immune system is compromised, our intestinal health is compromised, then we start to develop more and more food sensitivities.
Okay, so I guess that's the first thing, is identify your insensitivities and your sensitivities and your intolerances. Maybe have that blood test, or start eliminating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are some alternatives. So you have coconut milk here. Is that not considered a dairy at all?
Correct. So that's made from coconut milk. It's not to replace. It's health-wise, I'm not saying it's going to replace like a regular yogurt, but it's an option for people that feel they need their yogurt, right? They're used to the yogurt for breakfast or something like that. So there are alternative options. If you can't do cow's milk or sheep's milk or goat's milk type yogurt, then try a coconut milk yogurt and see how you do.
Okay, so we want to rid ourselves of those animal product yogurts.
Exactly.
And have a non-dairy alternative. Okay, we have to take a short break. When we come back, you're going to give us some more tips and tricks. We're going to talk about that blood test as well and see what you can do if you have developed some sensitivities to food and your gut health. Don't go anywhere. So is that all you should be using as vinegar, is apple cider vinegar? That puts that's easier to give them gummies. Welcome back to In the Know. We're talking all about gut health with Rita Mustafa. We need to be reminded of some things, okay? So we've identified an issue, but there's always a root problem. So the food, as you said, is not the issue, is not the culprit.
Right.
There's an underlying issue, and in our
Exactly.
case, it's our gut.
Yeah, we can't keep blaming the food, because even if we eliminate those particular foods, if you don't fix the gut, you just develop new sensitivities.
Wonderful.
Right? So that's not the answer, is to just eliminate. So we need to make sure that we're actually healing the gut at the same time when you're eliminating foods. So one of the things that I think is really necessary are omega-3s. So we were talking about omega-3s. Some people think of that as fish oils, and you can do a fish oil for omega-3s, but there's lots of plant-based versions of of omega-3s. So hemp seeds, right? So hemp seeds are a really great source of protein. They have omega-3s. So omega-3s are going to help. Each one of our cells has a fatty membrane, and each one of those cells needs omega-3s or healthy fats.
Good fats.
So we want to make sure we're getting these healthy fats in. If you don't like taking fish oils or omega-3 capsules or oils and things like that, then you can think about hemp hearts or flax oil or chia seeds, things like that. So
what's the ratio? Like, how much hemp should we be putting in our salad or whatever?
I would probably say about 3 tablespoons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be generous with it.
Be generous with
All
it
right.
for sure.
I call those sprinkles. We put them on my daughter's
Sprinkles?
cereal.
Okay.
And I say, do you want cereal with sprinkles? And we sprinkle hemp
Beautiful.
hearts.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just that easy, right?
It's just that easy.
Yeah.
It has
put
to
it in
be
the
easy
food,
if
and
you're
there
a
you
mom
go.
and a dad.
Yeah. And the taste is not
bad. I
right?
like the taste of hemp
So the
hearts.
taste is quite nice. Chia seeds, same thing. So you can hide that in your baking. You can hide that in, even sauces or oatmeals, things like that. Very easy to hide. Same thing, very high in omega-3s again. If you're doing chia seeds, I'd maybe say like a tablespoon a day.
A
would be good.
tablespoon dry.
Dry,
Okay.
yeah.
Because they plump up, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I have a great recipe on my website for chia pudding, right? Because it does. Once it gets in contact with water, it swells up. So it makes a nice pudding.
Almost
I
like
guess.
a jello-y
It's like
pudding.
a jelly
I really
type
like
pudding.
it. I really like it.
So
Flax oil. Can everyone have flax oil?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Everyone, as long as you don't have sensitivity to it, then of course, yes. So, but if you can't do flax oil, you can do hemp oil. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Fermented products.
Fermented products. So
It sounds like it's supposed to be bad, fermented, but it's good for you.
it's good for you. So, so besides the omega-3, we want to make sure we're getting in good bacteria, or those probiotics. So you hear a lot about probiotics in our yogurts, but what's wrong with yogurt for most people? It's a dairy product, right? So most people are not going to do well by taking a yogurt with probiotics. So we either need to supplement through supplementation, a powder or a capsule, or you can try increasing the amount of fermented, or we call it cultured foods. So sauerkraut is one of those foods, very rich in good bacteria.
And so how much sauerkraut are you, I love almost everything here on this table. I love sauerkraut. But how much of it do you have to be eating?
You don't really need a lot. So, I mean, if you can get like a good, I'd say quarter cup in.
Okay, so not too bad.
Yeah, and you'll know if you do too much, it's too much good bacteria, and you'll actually, you'll feel a little gassy because you're starting to, populate your intestines with too much good bacteria now, right?
Good to know.
You want to do that slowly. So even if when you first get it, if you're not used to it, just start with a forkful. That's it.
All right.
So you start slowly, yeah.
Apple cider vinegar.
So the apple cider vinegar, that does a couple things. It helps to keep our body alkaline. It also helps people who have a lot of cravings for sugars. A lot of times that tells us there's another imbalance, a candida probably imbalance in the body. So that can help with the sugar cravings and help with the candida. Also really good for people who suffer from heartburn or acid reflux. I know it sounds odd. You're thinking, why would I put acid in when I have heartburn already? But the idea is people who typically have heartburn or acid reflux is because of an imbalance in the stomach, not enough acid, and so whatever they eat just ferments in their stomach, and that's what's causing the reflux. So you have to
neutralize it.
So we need to actually move it through, get the body to move it through, and the apple cider vinegar will help do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you take too much of this, or like just one shot and you're good?
Normally I'd say like do maybe a teaspoon 3 times a day.
And you can add it to your salad. Like you can make it your vinegar.
Yeah,
right?
You're making
in salads.
absolutely, or you can take it straight with maybe diluted in some water.
Yeah.
But most people
plug
make
your
it
nose
into
and do it in one shot because it is potent.
Yes, it is.
It's potent. What's in this little one down here? Oh, okay. This is a probiotic, a digestive?
So digestive enzyme plus a probiotic.
Plus a probiotic. And this is a bio...
So those are
enzyme?
chewable. Yeah, so there's lots of different forms of supplements on the market. So you're going to do your omega-3s, you're going to do good bacteria, you might want to consider a digestive enzyme.
So what is a digestive enzyme?
So we naturally have enzymes in our body that help us break down our food. A lot of people with digestive issues don't really have a really good, our pancreas doesn't really do a good job at releasing those enzymes. Or if we eat a lot of cooked foods, or we have a lot of just immune imbalance or intestinal imbalance, then we just need additional enzymes to help us digest our food better and break down our nutrients so we can actually absorb them. And that's what an enzyme does.
And so do you take that enzyme like first thing in the morning? Do you take it with food?
Take it with food.
Every time you eat, or once a day? Every time you eat?
Well, again, it depends on the person. If someone has a lot of issues, then I would say you take it with each meal. Some people will, after a while and their body resets, they only need it at certain times. Like if they've had too much to eat at a particular meal, or they've eaten something maybe that doesn't really agree with them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, this is a probiotic as well.
And then that's a straight probiotic.
Dairy-free probiotic.
Yeah.
So if you go to the probiotic aisle, beware, because there's a million probiotics.
Yeah.
And some say multi-strain, some say single strain, some are in the refrigerator, some are liquid, some are capsules. What do you do?
Yeah. It gets very frustrating for a lot of people. So there's certain companies that I tend to use over and over because I find the best results. But really, if someone came to me as an example as a client, I always muscle test a person to determine, which one would be best for them. But if you go to just a health food store, I usually would say at least get something that's in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Because it's live bacteria, so it has to be alive.
All right, we have to take a short break. When we come back, more about gut health after the break. Welcome back to In the Know. We're talking all about our gut health with Rita Mustafa. So we've isolated our problems. We know what we need to add in food-wise and a few supplements. but now you have some more tips and tricks and what we can add into our life
Yeah,
to help
so-
our poor gut.
Yeah, we want to help our gut. We want to improve our immune system so that we don't get sick. So a lot of different things that we can do. Of course, springtime is the time for cleansing. So anytime you cleanse your liver, you're actually helping to boost your immune system. Actually, our liver is our filter, right? It has to filter everything that we
Okay.
put into our bodies. So sometimes detoxing helps people not only feel better, but also helps improve and boost their immune system.
It's like a fresh start.
Yeah.
So what's involved in a cleanse? I've heard some
Yeah, so
interesting experiences.
it sounds scary. So cleanses can go from fasting, where you're drinking nothing but lemon and water, to just taking a few supplements, to even just squeezing some lemon and water every morning. Like, it could be that simple.
Okay.
So the degree of cleansing that a person needs will vary depending on signs, symptoms,
How much you've got going on.
Exactly. So someone who's actually really, really sick will probably do not very well on a very, intense cleanse, because the energy, the systems just can't handle it, right? So sometimes it's just, starting off very simply with just a few herbs.
Okay.
Right? And then these kits that you could buy at the store, these are usually pretty gentle, but still, working with a practitioner, they'll let you know whether it's something that I think the body would be able to handle.
And what can you expect when you start a cleanse? Are there going to be some reactions in your body?
Well, that's the funny thing. So for me, when I work with people and I cleanse them, I'm expecting either, no symptoms or you feel better.
Okay.
If you start to feel worse, that just means we're detoxing you too fast. Your body can't handle it.
Right.
We're releasing toxins, we're putting them into our bloodstream, body can't get rid of it. So now you feel terrible.
Right.
And sometimes a lot of people think that's what a cleanse is. It's like, no, that's not a cleanse. That's your body just doing too much.
Fighting back at you.
Exactly, yeah, you
Yelling
can't
at
do
you.
that. So some people don't mind that type of cleansing. I don't like working to that effect. I would rather do it slower and maybe a little bit longer than quickly and have you feel horrible, right?
Okay.
So
What are some of these bottles here that you brought?
we were talking about multivitamins earlier, and I rarely prescribe multivitamins to people. I like people to get their nutrients through food as much as they can, but I do like whole food type supplements. So it's called Amazing Grass. This is just one of the many green supplements that's out there. But it's really nice because it has a lot of fruits and vegetables and omega-3s and fibers and so it's just a really great way not only to cleanse the body but to put additional nutrients in.
So do you use this like in a shake, or like do you add this to water?
So you can just add it to water, apple juice, anything to kind of, there are greens in it, so it's
Right.
going to taste a little like
Earthy?
green. Yeah, a little earthy, perfect. But I find even just like a quarter cup of pomegranate juice and then a scoop of the powder, and you just get it in. It's just,
All right, so one quick,
just get it in.
just get it done.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Some people don't mind it in a smoothie. If you don't mind it, then hey, put it in your smoothies
Okay.
or just put it in water and drink it. Whatever.
Okay.
Everybody's different, right? Different
What's
preferences.
this Digest Gluten Plus? What's that?
So sometimes we were talking about gluten or wheat being a problem for some people. Some people are just intolerant to it, so if they eat it, they just kind of feel bloated or not that great. Some people can get away with taking an enzyme at that point, but if you have a true sensitivity, an enzyme won't help you. But that's just another example of a supplement that might benefit somebody
Okay.
if they're just intolerant to something.
And this little one, I've never seen this before.
What
We'll
is
move it
this
over.
one?
Let's take a
Yeah.
peek.
Oh, that's our B vitamins. So
it's our B vitamin. Oh,
it's a
okay.
B
Pure
vitamins.
Food B.
So we were talking about, I mentioned muscle testing earlier, but a lot of vitamins out there that are on the shelves in our health food stores, a lot of people don't really know that, but they come from a lab, like they're made in a lab. So whenever I recommend supplementation, if you need to supplement, I always like to do a food-based supplement, right? So just like the green powder that I talked about being sort of like my multivitamin, same with this B vitamin. B vitamins help with energy, helps with stress, helps with digestion of foods and proteins and carbs and things like that. So a lot of times people will take a B vitamin just off the shelf in the store and they might not notice a big difference. This one I like because it's made just from food. It's only made from 4 foods, that's it.
Okay,
And
so you
that's-
know what you're getting.
Right.
All right. And this last one here, digest spectrum.
So again, more enzymes for helping digestion. But the nice thing about enzymes is if you take it with food, it helps you digest your food.
Okay.
If you take it away from food, it's actually an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of inflammation going on for whatever reason, so could be digestive related, or could be joint pain, or could be headaches, or whatever's going on, you can actually take it in between meals and use that like an anti-inflammatory.
Okay. So way over on your side, you have a sample kit.
Yeah. So
what is that?
So we mentioned the blood test
Right.
for detecting your food sensitivity. So this is actually the kit that you would get. So I would give somebody this kit. They would take it to any Life Labs, get the blood drawn. Everything is in there that they need, and then that blood gets sent off to a lab, and that's how we get our results. So it's a really easy test, really.
Right. Okay. So not too intrusive on your body.
No.
And then so you get a full printout of intolerances.
Yeah,
and
it will
sensitivities?
actually test for 120 foods. That's the base test.
Wow.
And if you can pay more and do the 200 foods, but basically the 120 foods is more than enough foods to help you, determine if foods are contributing to a weakened immune system or just digestive issues or anything like that. Yeah.
Any advice you have for people who are maybe watching the show and they're thinking, you know what, I kind of always feel rotten, or I never feel great. I never have that energy. And this is a lot of information. What's the first thing they should be doing?
I'd probably do a food diary. And, a lot of times the problem with food sensitivities is the symptoms don't show up always right after you eat it, right? So you could have yogurt today and kind of feel crappy tomorrow, but not really associate it with the yogurt you had yesterday. So having a food diary is really helpful, I think, especially if you're coming to a nutritionist or a practitioner, because they'll look at that and they'll be able to kind of guide you if you're just looking to eliminate certain foods. But I definitely would start there, and I would start with look at what you're eating. What are you craving? So a lot of times cravings are signs for us too. Are you craving sugars? Are you craving salts? What is it that you're craving, right? So
be aware.
Be aware. So these are all signs and symptoms that our body tries to tell us, these little hints,
Excellent. Thanks so much, Rita. You're a wealth of information. Thanks for coming. Come back anytime. I want to thank everyone at home for watching. Take care of your gut and it'll take care of you. We have come to the end of our show. We'll see you here next time on In the Know.